God, I can't even see straight. I just got in. I basically just got in from an Elton John concert. Or what? You don't think Elton John can tear the lid off anymore? I didn't think so either. This man is 71 years old. My uncle got tickets. He says, "You want to go? You and your wife, come on down." Incredibly generous offer. I said, "Okay, we'll go down there." You get amazing seats. We go down there. The whole time I'm thinking to myself, "Oh boy, I'm bringing my girlfriend who's Dominican. All right, she doesn't know Elton John from fucking the Garbage Man outside." So I'm like, "How's this gonna go down?" I thought this guy's gonna come out and just like mail it in. You know, this is the farewell tour. And let me tell you something. Elton John's a bad motherfucker, bro. That's all I gotta say. You think this old man can't groove anymore? It was unfucking believable, man. I really gotta tip my hat. I didn't know what to expect going in, and this exceeded my expectations like 3,000%. You know, never mind the fact that this guy's got a library that was like, you know, it was a 2-hour show. It was a 2-hour show of non-stop hit after hit. Think about it, people. I mean, the show started with Benny and the Jets. Who else do you know that can start a show that strong? Benny and the Jets, Yellow Brick Road, Rocket Man, Little Tiny Dancer, you fucking name it. You fucking name it, bro. The list goes on and on. Unfucking believable. Saturday night. Anyway, my hat's off to Elton John. He fucking shredded the place. I got news for you. And I knew the greatness of Elton John when all of a sudden I turned my head and my girlfriend's over here like rocking out. I said, "Oh, Jesus Christ." She might have heard a song or two on the radio once before. She enjoyed the whole fucking show. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Should've listened to my old man. Mongrels that ain't got a penny. Na, 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 na. I mean, on the ground. Listen, I'm going to tell you fucking assholes something right now. Alright? And I didn't even take a sip of coffee yet. I remember when they did American Idol. Remember American Idol? They used to have, you know, like a guest on the show. I don't know. Anybody. Who could it be? Some knucklehead guest on the show, and then they would have like a celebrity guest, and then everybody on all the contestants of the show would have to try to sing their songs. And a lot of times, these American Idol kids could pull it off, and they could sing better than the artists themselves. But they had Elton John on that fucking show, and I got news for you: nobody could sing Elton John music. There wasn't a one on there that could. This guy's voice is so incredibly unique. It's true. It's true. You want to sound like a retard? Go to karaoke and sing an Elton John song. Anyway, where are we here? Let me take a sip of this fucking coffee, huh? Oh my God. Not to mention, I drank like these fucking Coors Light in a can. They were like, these are like the tallest beers I've ever saw. They were like from the floor to the fucking ceiling. It's like I was walking around with a fucking wiffle ball bat in my hand. Ah. Alright, yeah, let's get started. Here we go. You want to know what we found? Hold on a second. This is the most heartbreaking moment of my life. I plug in my SX750 Pioneer over here. I mean, look at that tuning knob. Oh my God. I got some blood flow to my head. This is just one of the most beautiful pieces of audio equipment you're ever going to see in your miserable life. And I plugged it in and it doesn't work. Ugh. Something's going on. The startup relay. For some reason the startup relay is not firing, so it's not turning on the sound. I don't know what's going on in there. You think one of these old receivers from the 70s isn't complex? Okay, trust me, get in there with your multimeter. Alright, and all of a sudden your fucking head will spin until you... Anyhow. I go to a garage sale. I see these speakers up there. These are JBL speakers. I said, hell, why not? Great for the shed, you know, when I eventually get a receiver that works, or maybe even repair my Pioneer receiver. I say, hey buddy, how much you want for the speakers? He goes, $20. I said, $20? I said, would you do 10 on them? He goes, you know what, this one's fucking scratched on top. Whatever, what do I care? But that was like my bartering chip. He goes, yeah, I'll do 10. He's like, where are you going to put them? I said, I always give the bullshit story. I'm going to put them in my man cave. I'm too embarrassed to tell him I'm going to put them out in the shed. He goes, oh yeah, he goes, you got something, you got a receiver to play him with? I said, no. He goes, I got an old receiver downstairs if you're interested. I said, yeah, sure. What is it? He goes, I think it's a JVC. He doesn't even know, right? So to my amazement, he pops up with this Pioneer. This Pioneer, it's an SX3700. And from what I understand, people like the sound of the 3700 better than they like the sound of the 750. So, I don't think it's as beautiful as the 750. And the tuning knob, it has some weight to it, but baby, it doesn't spin like the 750. Ay, shkamada mu mada ming. But what a beautiful receiver. Another beautiful receiver. So, I mean, you know, listen, happy ending. Oh, by the way, I say to the guy, I go like this, he brings it out, my eyes nearly pop out of my head. But I was composed enough to say to him, oh boy, that's an old one, huh? I said, you do 20 for the speakers and the receiver? He's like, yeah, no problem. It's like, oh my God, I just ran out of there. One of these days I'm going to get arrested. I know. All right. What else do we got here? Oh, you ready to be bored to death? Echo the Dolphin PS2. It's brand new. I don't know, $1. Nagano Winter Olympics '98. Where the fuck is Nagano? Number one. Number two, who really cares about this game? Nobody. And then we get to this game right here, and I gotta tell you something right now. I know when it comes to sports games, you guys think I'm some kind of animal, but it's not true. Okay, I played sports games like everybody else. I'm going to tell you where my career with sports games ended. Okay, basically it started on the Intellivision. My buddy Todd, I tell this story all the time. His mother worked in Mattel, so Toddy had a fully loaded Intellivision, with the IntelliVoice, the whole 9 yards, and we used to play baseball. That's the first. That might have been the first game I ever played. It was either that or Space Spartans. But we would play baseball, and it had the IntelliVoice on it, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Because when you would first turn on the game, and the players would run out onto the field, it would have like the crowd. It was like like white noise from a TV. It was like and a whistling sound like. And then it was like bam, 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 like somebody was honking a fucking truck horn. And I remember that was a lot of times, like especially in Olympic games, especially like on Atari or something like that, they would use white noise for the crowd, right? Yeah. And then if you would strike out or something like that, or somebody would get you out of the plate, the fucking computer voice would go, "You're out. You're out." It sounded like one of those, boy, oh boy, you kids don't know what you're missing, man. Remember when people used to get throat cancer or something like that, and they'd give them the box? Hey, Lemon. Like that? Oh my God. That's what the IntelliVoice guy sounded like. "You're out." God almighty. They used to say, what was the commercial they did where "This is how I smoked for 50 years and now look at me." I'm like, that was the biggest promotion for me for cigarettes. I'm like, I want that voice box. Where can I get that fucking thing? I'm dying to find one at a garage sale. Let me find one at a garage sale. My dream is to get that voice box and play the harmonica at the same time. I think it would just like rip a hole in space-time. It would be like the ocarina. And like a tornado would come and just whisk me away to a different dimension. Oh, God forbid I find one of those. I'd be like, "You just tuned in to the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization. And you better believe that. Alright, now. Whoa. Ah, boy. So, here we go. When I think about sports, okay. On the ColecoVision, we didn't have any sports games. I didn't have any. I simply didn't have any. The only sports game I ever knew for the ColecoVision was my next door neighbor had, what was it? What was the football game? Where you would use the super action controller. The super action controller that had all the buttons. What was the name of the fucking football game? Oh my God. That and the combat game. Frontline. Would use the super action controller. Oh my God. This controller was like incredible. This is like the controller that they would have inside of like a NASA like astronaut spacesuit. And they had a football game for it that my next door neighbor used to rave about, but I never got to play it. because he would never lend me that Super Action controller. Anyhow, and then from there you had the Nintendo. Remember the Nintendo black box days? And I think of my buddy Billy, and I think of my friend Rex. And the black box sports games were what? It was, listen, we're not talking golf here, all right? I don't even consider golf a sports game. I don't consider golf a sports game. I don't consider tennis a sports game. I don't know why. Or any type of car racing. That's not on the radar as far as I'm concerned. It's football, basketball, baseball, hockey. So, there you go. The Nintendo Black Box days, you had baseball, standard baseball, which was like, it's actually a competent baseball game. It's just a real snoozer. The graphics are, blah. There's nothing really to speak of there. It's just, if you had nothing else to do on planet Earth, maybe you'd play a couple rounds of that baseball game, and you'd get by. Okay? And then you had 10-Yard Fight, which was like the most boring football game you could imagine on planet Earth. And I can remember Rex playing 10-Yard Fight, and it was like, oh, we had to be really sick and tired of like Jackal or something like that. Or if he probably brought over some games, he would never bring over 10-Yard Fight. What am I even saying? 10-Yard Fight was just like, put me to sleep. I never participated. Well, that's not true. You had ice hockey. Okay, it's the group, maybe the first or second greatest hockey game ever made. Okay, original black box Nintendo ice hockey. You remember you could use the skinny guy was really fast, the fat guy was really slow, but he could take a hit, and then you had a guy somewhere in the middle. That was so fun, so fun. I used to use the skinny guy and zip around everywhere. That was the best type of game, when you used the skinny guy would go up against the fat guy, because then the fat guy would blast the skinny guy right off the ice, grab the puck, and go in for a goal. Great game. Ice hockey. Original Nintendo. It's one of the greatest sports games of all time. I got news for you. You don't need graphics. You don't need all the pageantry. It was just a simple, fun game. It's like pro wrestling. Pro wrestling was the best. This is Black Box 2. The pro wrestling was the best wrestling game on the NES. Absolutely. Black Box Tennis, too. Black Box Tennis games. Listen, Black Box Tennis was alright. Next to ice hockey, I would play tennis over baseball and 10-Yard Fight, easily. But then you had Konami came out and released two of the most iconic sports games ever. Ever. You had Double Dribble. And Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel.
Oh my God. I got news for you. Battle-hardened gamer as I was, I was up to my knees in Rygar, Dragon Warrior, but I got news for you. I borrowed Double Dribble from somebody, because Double Dribble was the basketball game to play on the NES. And why? And why? Tell me why. For the slam dunks. Oh my God! It had those chopped up animations that of slam dunks. They were like it was like the most incredible thing to see at the time. You have to understand that. That's what made Double Dribble such an amazing game. I mean, it was a great basketball game, but to see those animated slam dunks, that was like the guy would go up and do a reverse dunk. It was like almost like stop motion or somebody snapping a picture. It was like click, 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 push. Oh, so satisfying. So satisfying. And then you had Blades of Steel. These were sports games where the graphics actually caught up. I mean, listen, you remember the boxes and the labels, these Konami games, the silver, lined box, and the silver sticker on the cartridge. You know how Konami had like the silver on the outline there? I just like Blades of Steel, Metal Gear. They all had that look to the box. Gradius. But everybody had Blades of Steel and Double Dribble. Everybody. And everybody would talk about it at school. Two monster sports games. You could have the most, die-hard gamer. Because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of gamers aren't really sports players. And there was a copy of Blades of Steel, a Double Dribble to be found in their Nintendo collection. Yeah. And then Rex went on a tear with baseball games. Bases Loaded. I used to sit there and watch him play Bases Loaded. I never played it myself. Here it was like, the graphics were better. What could you manage the team, I guess? Right? You could do is play a season, right? Right? Bases Loaded had a save. Didn't it have a battery backup for a save? I know Baseball Stars did. Right? If we're talking great baseball games, are we talking baseball games I just used to sit there and watch. We didn't even play. Oh, I didn't even play. I said, Rex, you know what? You want to play bases? It was like I would come over. And before we actually started playing video games, there was Rex. He was playing Baseball Stars. Bases Loaded. So I'd sit there and watch him play some Bases Loaded before we got started, right? That's how it went down. RBI baseball, right? Yeah. Then I remember going over Phil's house and we rented Base Wars. Oh my God, Base Wars was incredible. Robots playing baseball. I remember you could hit the ball. I remember you could hit the ball and like the outfielder would catch it and explode. If it was a hard hit. This is what I'm into. You want robot? You want to have robots play baseball? This was great. You had guys that had like jets and they would like steal bases. There's like all these wacky moves that happen in Base Wars. Base Wars was interesting. Phil and I would play Base Wars, I remember that. That reminds me of the Lynx game. Remember the Atari Lynx had Tournament Cyberball 2072. I bought that one. I got that one on my birthday. Oh, what a disaster. I must have paid. It must have been on sale or something like that. But it was basically robots playing football. The graphics were horrible. The pace of the game was so slow. But in Tournament Cyberball, you had a football that was basically was a bomb on a timer, which is a great concept. So instead of downs, you just basically had a football that had a timer on it. It was basically a bomb, and it would blow up in one of your players' hands, and you had to sub in somebody else. The NFL should take notes. I would watch football again today if the ball was a goddamn bomb. And football games on the NES, what was it? There was play action football.
Ready, set, hunt, 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 hunt.
Right? I remember watching Rex play some play action football and Tecmo Bowl.
Touchdown.
Tecmo Bowl was the one that everybody talked about. It had the decent graphics, but it had all the NFL teams. It had the guys' names when they'd score a touchdown. Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson. That's a bit of a thrill, isn't it, though? To have all the guys in there. But to be honest with you, I wanted nothing to do with football on the NES. I couldn't get into Tecmo Bowl. Couldn't do it. It wasn't until the Sega Genesis where, well, the TurboGrafx, I got news for you. Let's take this in order. The TurboGrafx, I remember, everybody was still on a hangover from Double Dribble. And I figured I'm going to go out and get I'm going to get the TurboGrafx version, which is going to be much better, right? I remember buying for $19.99, taking it to the hoop. Oh my God. What a fucking miserable basketball game. I remember all the guys, what irritated me is all the guys had big heads. It was almost like NBA Jam, just totally, I don't know, it was a fucking mess. Uninspired. All the guys had these big heads, and they were all white. This is how I knew this game was ridiculous. Like, everybody on the team was white, with like blonde hair. And then they would also have the animations. Like, if you took a mean three, it would have an animation, and it would have an animation for the dunk. And it was just not a good game. Not a good game at all. And from there you had TV Sports Football, TV Sports Hockey, and TV Sports Basketball. And for the time, the TV Sports games had amazing graphics. They were amazing graphics. TV Sports Football was painfully slow.
Goal 59. Touchdown. Hi, Bob.
I'd say TV Sports Hockey was the best.
Boo, boo.
Of all the games. TV Sports Basketball was alright. They were pretty games for the time. They were. They just didn't hold up. They didn't hold up. And I think the time that I really cut my teeth on sports games was the Sega Genesis. And that brings us to this game right here. Okay? The Sega Genesis had people playing hockey. What did I know about hockey? Absolutely nothing. What did me and my friends know about hockey? Absolutely nothing. But I can tell you right now, we were playing this game right here. Wow, the memories. It was, what, NHL 94, 95, 96, right? Then you had the NHLPA. I don't know what that means. But you had the NHLPA games, I mean, NHLPA 93, I think it was, or 96, I don't know, and all those games to follow. But I got news, these were the premier hockey games, alright? These were the premier hockey games. I don't think anybody's done it better since. And oh my God, you could break your thumb open. You could blister up the end of your thumb playing this game. You'd never press the directional pad as hard as you did on this game. These games were frustrating to play. They worked, don't get me wrong, but the way the players would move, it's like for some reason you felt if you pressed that directional pad a little bit harder, the guy would move a little bit faster. And when you were trying to evade your friend or something like that, oh my God, all you hear is the fucking joysticks cracking. Crackling sounds coming from those joysticks. Oh yeah, give me a fucking hard time for calling it a joystick. I love this shit. Somebody will write something in the comments. Get off my show! Can you imagine somebody's worried about whether I'm calling it a control pad or a joystick? Fuck off! Honestly. I know I'm gonna get it. Didn't he say joystick? Yeah, I did! Anyway, guys. Hockey games on the Sega Genesis. That was it. It's the pinnacle. It doesn't get any better. And then from there, sip of coffee for NHL 94, eh? Sip of coffee. From there, I really became a big football fan. This is like, early high school. I became a huge football fan, and it was like my thing. I remember the first, it was almost like when I first got Phil's rental code, 621, by the way. I would go down to M&M Video, and I would rent all the Sega Genesis football games. Because everybody was talking about Madden. it was Madden this and Madden that. And I remember the original John Madden Football on the Sega Genesis in the cardboard box. I remember the cardboard box was so unusual. Star Control, Hardball, Ballistics Hardball, John Madden Football, and what was the other one that came in the cardboard box? Was it James Pond? Turrican, right? So that John Madden game stuck out like a sore thumb. And I remember everybody used to talk about John Madden Football, right? John Madden Football. So I was looking for, story of my life, I was looking for a better football game. So I would sneak down to M&M Video, and I would rent, what was it, Mike Ditka's Power Play Football or something like that? Atrocious game.
Presents Mike Ditka Power Football. Set, hut, hut. Interception. That's a turnover. First down.
Oh my god, atrocious game. And I would rent Joe Montana's Sports Talk Football.
Welcome to Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. Pitch out. Gets the block. Tucks it away. He's in trouble. Down on the 43. Second down with 3 minutes 3 seconds left in the quarter.
Graphically a good game. A side scroller, right? I mean, you could speak about football games in terms of side scrolling and vertically scrolling, couldn't you though? If Madden was a vertically scrolling football game, which it was, Joe Montana Sports Talk Football was a horizontally scrolling game, and it had decent graphics, almost like Tecmo Bowl, right? It was a side scroller. I mean, let's be honest with each other. So yeah, and the gimmick with Joe Montana Sports Talk Football is you get to hear this idiot announcer. What was his name? The fucking white-haired guy? Would talk the whole game. Yeah, you know, it was a gimmick. But that wasn't a bad football game. I remember mustering some enjoyment out of it. And then finally I just collapsed. I said, all right, we'll buy the John Madden football game. And I think the first John Madden football game, or the first football game that I ever bought was John Madden 92. Was it 92 or 93? It was John Madden 92.
Set, hut. Touchdown.
Yes, I remember. And what a great time to be a football enthusiast as far as video games are concerned, because I was a big Dallas Cowboys fan. Still am, but I won't watch football anymore. Excuse me. So, you know, listen, Dallas was wiping the floor with the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowls at the time. So the Buffalo Bills and Dallas Cowboys were like the powerhouse teams on those early Madden games, which is great. I used to use Dallas, and I believe on the Sega Genesis version, Madden 92, when a guy would get hurt and the ambulance would drive out, the ambulance would run over all the players. great. All the players would go flying out of the way. Ay, ay, ay. But that was probably the only... Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. I did buy John Madden's Duo CD football for the Turbo Duo. I was like, that's right. I was trying to get at the... Number one, John Madden, the original John Madden on the Super Nintendo is a horrific game. It runs too slow. The graphics are fucked up. They didn't get it right. Oh, it's terrible. That's the one thing. The Genesis killed the Super Nintendo when it came to the Madden games. They killed it. So here we go. I was like, oh my god, they made a John Madden game for the Turbo Duo. I remember seeing it coming in Turbo Play magazine. I was like, oh my god. I was like, the gears were turning. I'm like, here it is. I'll get in the face of every Super Nintendo and Genesis guy with this one. And it came out and it had these animations when somebody would score a touchdown. And the animations were so generic. And then and they took forever to load. Some of the animations were the ref flipping the coin. It looked really good. That animation looked really good, but the rest of them were horrible. It was like some guy in just this generic football uniform, and he'd like spike the football and do this ridiculous dance. It was embarrassing. It really was embarrassing. But Madden football on the Turbo Duo, it wasn't better than the Genesis version. So I basically had to keep my yap shut about it. But on the Sega Genesis, the basketball games are what probably has some of the most nostalgia. That and the hockey games, because you had Bulls versus Blazers. EA, let me tell you something right now. EA was doing it, man. Graphically, Bulls versus Blazers. Remember Bulls versus Blazers? Remember Lakers versus Celtics? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was Bulls versus Lakers, Bulls versus Blazers, Bulls versus Lakers, Lakers versus Celtics. Oh yeah, these graphics were gorgeous. And I remember we'd all pile into Phil's room. Okay, we'd all pile around and just play exhibition games at Bulls versus Blazers. And I mean, this was Michael Jordan in his fucking heyday. All right? Basketball, we'd be playing basketball all day down the block. All right, out in the streets, in the park. Chicago, one-on-one. Full games, full court games down at the park, you name it. We were playing basketball, baby. We were watching basketball, all right, because you had guys like Michael Jordan playing. You couldn't get away from it. Basketball was a fucking monster back then. And then we'd be piled around. We'd be in Phil's room. Hey, Phil, put on the Fushnikins. And let's play some Bulls versus Blazers. It was always Phil's stereo. We'd turn up the stereo, turn on some Fat Joe, turn on the Fugees. I mean, you need Wu-Tang Clan. And we were off the Brand Nubian, Black Sheep. It was all that 90s hip-hop, man. And Bulls versus Blazers. Oh, it takes you right back. It just takes you right back. And making fun of each other. That's great stuff. There really is. And then to be honest with you, NBA Jam, right? That was the other one. That was the other real mother of a sports game. NBA Jam. That was a monster. Just a monster in the arcades. Crowds of people around the arcade machine. Crowds to play NBA Jam.
With the sky hooks, Petrovic grabs the rebound, lays it up, fancy move. Nets up by 6. Boom, shakalaka.
And when it was ported to the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, it was almost like Street Fighter 2. He's like, oh my God, we can play this at home now. You know how many copies of NBA Jam are floating around out there, guys? Just like Street Fighter 2. Just like Street Fighter 2, everybody had NBA Jam or wanted NBA Jam. So there you go. I'm not a complete ne'er-do-well when it comes to sports games, but I got news for you. After the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, no more sports games for me, baby. Moving forward, I had no interest in them after that. So that's it. You just tuned in to the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization. And you better believe that. With a 4K face! We'll see you next time.